Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva, episode number 186. 186. Approaching 200 episodes. Is that kind of wild to think about? It is for me. I have been, marking the numbered episodes every single week of the podcast. And now I'm at number 186. So, if you do the math, just mathematically, if I've done one every single week, and I think I have done one every week, there might have been like maybe 2 exceptions of, delayed episodes or whatever. But it's been over 3 years of doing the show, doing The Intelligent Moron. It's kind of like crazy to think about. Borderline insane to think of one. It's been that long since the show debuted, since the show began, and it is still continuing. Probably the most consistent show, consistent program, whether it be big screen, small screen, that's ever probably the most consistent show that has ever been produced by yours truly. If you think about podcasts, if you think about, consistency throughout the years, there probably isn't a show more consistent than this one. Probably. There's a couple that I listen to that sometimes have had in the past, like no show this week, or less shows, or go off for a bit where there's no show and then they come back. But I think that in terms of consistency, this show reigns supreme out of any podcast that's ever been produced. You might wonder why, but the reason is love. The love of the craft, the love of the grind of producing a show like this is truly the best thing that anyone, I think, could do in their life. To have a voice, an opinion, ideas flourish from my brain to this microphone. Week in and week out, things occur, things happen, time passes. Like, this is going to be the final show in the month of August. And then we enter September of the third year, approaching the 4th year of doing the show. It's actually insane to think about. I haven't gone back and listened to the first episode. I probably should, just to see what I sound like, my cadence, my rhythm, my delivery, and all that. How, if any, has it changed all that much from now, or from then to now, and to see what has happened, because there has to have been changes, obviously, not only in life, but in the way I see things, the way I view things. Like, for one, I consider myself a lover of the finer things in life. What I mean is or I take pleasure in the finer things in life. There's a point, like when you're growing up, where you don't really care for the finer, sophisticated things that life has. You are geared more to the simpler things I remember back in the day, I didn't really care for steak sauce or horseradish. Now I do. Now I don't mind them one bit. In fact, I enjoy them. A little bit of horseradish on your prime rib, it ain't bad. It's pretty good. Mustard. I've always loved mustard, but like now I really enjoy that flavor. Back then I didn't like onions. Now I love onions. I enjoy the finer things in life. The things that I think that, kind of make life more enjoyable now to me. Now, not only make them more finer and more sophisticated, but now they improve on the enjoyment. And even like simple things like food, right? Can be so simple, but yet like make your day even better than the day before and the day after before that. Like I said, it's the last show of August. So what is approaching? What is on the horizon? What is coming up? What are we looking forward to? Well, for starters, football season is in not even 2 weeks. It's in less than 2 weeks. The NFL is pretty much here. Preseason has pretty much wrapped up. There's no more. It has wrapped up. There are no more preseason games now. College football begins this weekend, which I am actually excited to watch because being able to see that college football begins and then soon after that the NFL begins and then soon after that, or actually when that's happening, fantasy football will be happening, and I'll elaborate that more on that on next week's show about fantasy football. But all this is coming up. Football season is the best time of year. Not only is it football season, which I call it, if you're new to the show, the fall and the autumn, whatever you call it, the typical seasons of the solar calendar that are known as autumn or fall, to me, I just call it football season. Just because that's what my world revolves around. And that's like what I really identify the time of year with football. That means red zone Sundays are coming. That means Monday night, Thursday night, sometimes Fridays, and then Saturday for college football. That's coming. In fact, some could say it's already here. If you count week 0 last weekend, it's already here. And not just the sport of football, but the weather will be changing very, very soon. Last week we kind of got a taste of that. I believe on last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was all highs in the 80s where I live. It was kind of a fluke. It wasn't even the final week of August just yet, and we were seeing the 80s, and in the nights it would get to low 60s, and then I would see that, and then I'm like, oh my god, what is this? What's going on? I don't care. This is definitely a fluke, but I'm gonna take it. And man, life to me is kind of like it's like a marathon, but also there can be hurdles that you have to jump over. We just got done watching the Olympics, and when the athletes are running, the hurdle race, they run and then they got to leap over these hurdles, and the objective is to leap over all of them and finish the first with the fastest time. I look at that and I compare that to life. Life is full of hurdles. One of the hurdles could be the weather. In the summertime, it's usually the weather that adds an extra hurdle that makes it, where it's hot, it's unbearable, kind of sucks it kind of, it's beautiful. You got some clear skies, blue skies, but you know what? It would be much better and easier if it wasn't 100+ degrees, you know? So when life throws this hurdle, right, of it being sunny, clear skies, but excruciatingly hot, that's a hurdle in the marathon of life. And then when we get blessed with like 87 to high for 3 solid days, the hurdle goes away. It just becomes a straight sprinting path where you're like, I don't got to leap over any hurdle. I'm just cruising right now. Cruising. I know it's not like, 75 and sunny, but it is a much better circumstance, a much better predicament, a much better temperature to live life than triple digits plus, But then sadly, those days went by, and then it went back to the high 90s. I think we're going to be in the triple digits for the next, maybe 5 days. Not like super crazy, like 110, but like 100, 101, nothing too insane. But I got to say, man, those 3 days where we were coasting at like 87 as the high, sometimes even lower, man, those hurdles went away, and it was just a straight-on sprint. And it was fantastic. Truly was. I mean, life can throw you curveballs. It can put hurdles in your path. But, man, once you see the hurdles disappear for a while, and you see life is just a little bit easier, because we all know life is tough. It's insanely tough, When the hurdle kind of disappears for a while and you're just kind of chilling, and you're actually able to sort of, in a way, breathe a little easier and just kind of coast and chill and relax for a bit. You almost kind of, or you feel like you're getting away with something. You almost kind of feel like you're cheating. Like, hey, this shouldn't be that easy, but it is. And in that sense, when the universe is working in your favor, you have to take advantage and enjoy every step of that straightaway that you possibly can, because it could go away just like that. Just like I said, 101 coming up. Oh boy. Like I said, we're approaching September here in California. It could stay hot, till like maybe closer to October. And then we finally dip. A significant dip. But I think that hopefully it comes sooner than that. Because I gotta tell you, man, that sweet taste of those cooler days, man, that was much needed. I feel like we kind of deserve that after the summer that we had, temperature-wise. Luckily my power never went out during those days. Thank God, thank Christ. But I still think that we kind of needed a break from that. Just kind of my thoughts on where, we stand with that, how we're feeling about that. A couple things I want to talk about this episode, though. Some things that are coming out, that have come out, I think, with very positive and mixed, and then also why reactions. We'll start with the positive. The Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer dropped. I had seen it. And my God. I mean, I'm a fan of the Sonic movies. I'm not a fan of the theatrical experience of the Sonic movies, but I do think that the movies are fun, very enjoyable. For pretty much like all audiences, I would say like the Sonic movies, in some ways, could be considered the best, actually like the best like video game adaptation movies probably ever made, if I'm being totally honest. Why? They just seem to work. They're fun, they're enjoyable, they're wacky, they're funny. They don't take themselves so seriously. They don't take themselves. They're not like a joke of themselves, right? They just seem to get the right tone of the movie with the right characters and the right voice actors to voice these characters, introducing new characters like in I think Sonic 2 they introduced Tails and Knuckles, which was a really good, very fun introduction, very fun way to build upon the existing Sonic film universe in a very fun way. You know, with the casting of Idris Elba as Knuckles, probably one of the most brilliant castings that has ever been done in cinematic history. I mean, that dude voicing Knuckles is the funniest, one of the funniest things that has ever been like done in cinema, I would say. And even before that, Jim Carrey as Dr. Robot is an incredible, like once in a lifetime a casting that you would think like, hey, there hasn't been a more like on the nose perfect casting since the man was cast as the Grinch in 2001, I think, maybe even 2000, way back then. And now with this new movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I mean, I was talking to my brother, right? We saw this trailer the day it came out. And immediately I walked up to this guy. And I'm saying to him, like, dude, that was like the coolest trailer that I have probably ever seen. I mean, the movie could be not that great. There's always that possibility. I don't think it is going to be bad. I think it's going to be fantastic, but there's always a possibility, right? But from this trailer alone, this was probably the most like dramatic, intense, riveting, like the stakes have never been higher trailer that I have ever seen in my entire life. In a third installment of a franchise that first started off when we first saw the very first trailer of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, we had a completely different visual design of Sonic. If you can remember the first trailer for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and you look at the movies that we have now, Sonic was completely different in terms of artistic design. He looked more realistic, creepy. I mean, the verge of like a nightmarish ghoul demon that you could see in your nightmares that they were going to put on the big screen. And then the animators in the studios were like, you know what? We see all this backlash because people hated it, including myself. I was not just hating it. I was like actually disturbed at what this abomination had looked like. I was like, there's no way that this should see the light of day. Like maybe this could be like a test. Are they testing us? Is this for real? Are they actually going to go this way to putting Sonic on the big screen? Like I know they kind of wanted to go for like a realistic look, but it just came across as more disturbing and freaky and weird and cringeworthy, where you're like, you know what, I can't. No one's going to be able to take any of this seriously. And I think that the studio was correct in redesigning Sonic to what we have now, where it's like, yeah, this is like respectable. You know, this is an homage to what Sonic looks like and more fun. You know, this is a kid's movie, right? Sonic is made for kids. The game in the beginning was made for kids to have fun. So he should have a fun-looking vibe to him. You know, he should keep his fun-looking, cartoony vibe, which they did. You know, they ultimately ended up making him more, you know, of the Sonic that we know and love. You know, cartoony Sonic, which is, you know, a big win, I would say, for the studio and for everybody else that enjoys Sonic, right? And then, his movies come out, they're a big hit, one after the other. And like I said, with this trailer being like the most dramatic, epic, intense trailer that I've ever seen for a third installment of a franchise since Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King, this movie is going to be freaking massive. And I was telling my brother, like, dude, I looked up the budget, and not the budget, I looked up what the previous films made. Sonic 1 made like a little over 300 million. Sonic 2 made over 400 million globally. I think that this movie has the potential. I mean, I might be overreaching a bit, but the way this movie is shaping up to be, getting better, these movies, rather, getting bigger and better with every installment, this could potentially, I'm going to sound like an idiot right now, but Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I would not be shocked if this movie made $1 billion. I'm going to sound like, I already know, I'm hearing myself now say it. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, could that really make $1 billion? Could that really make the money that Deadpool and Wolverine just made? I think it can. I really do think that it can. Why? Dude. I mean, obviously, the cat's out of the bag if you've already seen the trailer. And even if you haven't seen the trailer, like the first trailer that just came out a few days ago, and you've heard about it, you've been around, you're not under a rock, you know that Shadow the Hedgehog is going to be the bad guy or the antagonist for this film. And it was already announced that he was being voiced by Keanu Reeves, the mainstream emo himself. Not even emo, just like the mainstream, like dark, gritty, troubled, he's bestly known for John Wick, right? But now John Wick is playing Shadow the Hedgehog, who is an emo icon. I mean, this guy, growing up, right? They love this guy more than Sonic, right? And that's where I really first was one of my first introductions to emo culture, was when kids back in the day liked Shadow more than they liked Sonic. And I was like, yeah, he's cool, but he's just like emo Sonic. But they're like, no, man, he's way better. And I'm like, whatever. I'm a Sonic guy. But that was one of the first emo icons, pop culture icons, where kids of my generation were drawn to. He was the king emo, and still kind of is. He's kind of having a comeback because of this film coming out. And like I said, dude, with this, with the resurrection, with the bringing back of this guy, and I'll be honest, he looks freaking badass in this trailer. I mean, he's going to bring an entire other audience that you probably wouldn't have seen in previous Sonic movie audiences that are going to be flocking to see this movie for. And the fact that he's voiced by Keanu Reeves only dials it up by 1,000 even more. They could have got, it was rumored that it was going to be Hayden Christensen voicing Shadow. That got the internet kind of going crazy. Me personally, after seeing, what was that movie called? Into the Spider-Verse 2, after hearing Oscar Isaac play Spider-Man 2099 or whatever, his evil, grimace or grunty grizzled voice, I'm like, that could be a good Shadow as well. But then they just said, you know what, fuck it, we'll get the darkness god and Keanu Reeves. And I after seeing him in the trailer, I'm like, oh my god, they are going to fucking make a killing out of this movie. They don't even know how much money they're going to make, but they're going to make a killing. And not only that, bro, but the movie itself just looks freaking awesome. It looks like it's going to be not only funny and witty. I mean, the jokes in there are already like cracking me up. If I'm being honest, I mean, like I said before, like the Sonic movies have always been pretty lighthearted and been pretty funny. If I'm being honest, like they actually have some funny comedic moments. But this dude is gonna be, I think it's just gonna crush numbers, and it's coming out in December. It's going to absolutely own December. This movie. I mean, this is going to be like a massive, massive movie, and they probably didn't even have the intention for it to be this massive, but because of the track record of these movies and how they've been getting better and just like more like loyal, and have been like always included like and made like Sonic and his pals like the main story of the movie, not just the humans. I think that this movie's gonna absolutely kill. I mean, I just felt it in that trailer. I'm like, dude, this movie's gonna freaking rock. And I'm again, I'm not even like the biggest Sonic fan, but I'm just like, dude, I can't see how this movie fails. Like I really can't. And I'm just like, wow, this is gonna be actually kind of cool. I was actually pretty freaking hyped for that movie just because of like the stakes. They made it so like the movies have gotten better, and you can just tell it's gonna be a bigger movie than the first two. And especially the fact that Jim Carrey is coming back to play Dr. Robot is another like enticing piece of the movie that is going to bring even more audiences to see, because I mean, like I said, perfect casting when it comes to him as Dr. Robot. The zaniness of that character, the insanity, and how he's just like a crazy guy, and then Jim Carrey just adding even his own touch and being crazy, insane, and zany, and just like and the way this guy, like you can tell, like is having a dream job experience, like playing this character. Like we're able to see like the true like talent and zaniness of Jim Carrey, like truly fully fleshed out in this character, like we have not seen it in a long time, maybe even since like, I don't know, The Grinch and The Mask. Like I mean, this is like harkening back to like old school Jim Carrey, like just crazy performances and crazy characters. Like this might even be like one of like probably his best character that he has ever played, and it's in a movie where he's not even like the main guy. It's a fucking cartoon blue hedgehog that's like the main character in the movie. He's just being the villain slash anti-hero slash now teammate. I don't know what you would call him, but he's playing just a video game character like to another level. I mean, like you can just tell that he's having so much fun with this. And I think even before this movie, I think that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was like his final role that he was going to do in acting. And then they were able to get him out of retirement to play Dr. Robot again. Like that just means like either they paid him a lot of money, or he's like, you know what, I'll take whatever you want to pay me, but I love this character and I want to keep playing this character, which is crazy, that he would actually find like a character that he would want to continue to play that's from a video game. But, every time I see the guy, as Dr. Robot, I'm like, this is fucking just a perfect cast. Like I cannot, I don't see like any other person playing Dr. Robot than Jim Carrey. He just nails it every single time. It's almost like unbelievable. Like I said before, it's like it's pretty much like the perfect casting, lightning in a bottle, like with him as the Grinch and now him as Dr. Robot. There really is like no other person I could actually see playing Dr. Robot than Jim Carrey. Kind of wild, but also like honestly big time facts. If we're being true with ourselves, like, facts come in, they come and hit you fast, right? they hit you fast and hard, and you don't want to believe that it's a fact, but you have to acknowledge that sometimes facts move at a rapid pace and an intensity so intense that you somewhat can't believe that it's an actual fact. You just have to let yourself go, let your pride go, and be like, yep, that's a fact. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robot is perfect, and that is a fact. Something I'm kind of like somewhat negative and somewhat mixed on is that it sounds like from a lot of actors / stars of the show Ted Lasso that they're signing on for another season of the show. And from what I can tell, after being a fan of Ted Lasso, after watching, all 3 seasons, that the show is over. The show ended. I don't understand. I think that show ended in the best way that show could have ended in. That was one of the shows that you wouldn't really expect to probably impact somebody's life that much. I mean, it didn't it wasn't a freaking a show that really touched my heart, but it was a show where it left me with a good feeling about life and about life lessons, people you meet along the way, being thrust into a situation where you're probably not the most comfortable, adapting to it, adapting with life, living a different life than you're used to, and meeting people on the way that, you didn't think that they would be your friends, ending up being your friends and the people that you care about the most, right? And the way it ended, I was like, you know what, this story of this person that we're following, Ted Lasso, an American coach who coaches football, goes to Europe, England, to coach soccer with many misadventures with all his, people that he meets along the way, and also being a coach to grown men who play soccer and have, other life things happening to them, day-to-day things, human things, and seeing that all unfold. It was a unique show and a unique perspective that I think the way it ended, it solidified and the show did its job of what it was. And it, I don't think that Apple really thought that the show was going to be as captivating as it was, but it ended up being one of the most watched shows during its run. I mean, me and my dad don't really have many shows that we watch in common, but I told him to check this show out, and he watched it and he was like, dude, I love this show. I love it. And we would talk about it all the time. And then we would, watch the episodes, and he would always be caught up on the episodes. And it's it was one of the shows, one of the first mainstream newer shows where he was always caught up on. Weekly, he would just be watching the show as soon as it came out. And that was really cool. That was a special time. But I still think to me, the show ended, and it ended on a good way. And it ended on a good, positive note where I didn't think that I needed to see more of Ted Lasso. I mean, Ted Lasso came out in a dark time, too. It came out during COVID. It came out when the world was shut down, where they had shut down the world, and all we had was what was already recorded and taped and ready to be released, in terms of entertainment, like TV shows and movies. It was already in the can. It was ready to go, essentially. And once it came out, I was like, I love this show so much. I truly, truly love it. And I don't know. I just feel like the fact that it is returning, potentially returning, is kind of strange. if I'm being honest, it is a little like, I don't know. I just felt like, it concluded so well with the story of Ted Lasso and where the characters are, where they started, where they were, how they were, progressing in the story, and where it ended was fine for me. I didn't need any more. I thought they wrapped it up with a nice bow and was like, yep, that's our show. It seems like, it's going to come back. And will it be revolved around Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso? I think he's like the one person so far from like the main cast that hasn't signed on or said anything about it. Like, I've heard Hannah Waddingham and Brett Goldstein are all like signing on to return to Ted Lasso. But I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. I'm kind of in the more, I don't want that to happen. Then continue or make a new one or reboot. They're not going to reboot it, but like, I guess I wouldn't want them to continue it because I feel like it just kind of ended in a good way. And I think that all things, that are good have to come to an end. And then we just make new things, make other things, or make something different. Like, the one thing that I would probably hate the most, if I'm being completely honest, if they wanted to like if they were going to actually bring back Ted Lasso and call it Ted Lasso, they would have to obviously bring back Sudeikis, right? But it seemed like in that ending of the show, he was done with that part of his life and going back home. Are they going to bring like Roy Kent to America to coach American football? Is Hannah Waddingham's character going to come in and become like an owner of an American football? Like, is that going to happen? Will they actually do that and just like reverse the roles where like Roy Kent and what is Hannah Waddingham's character's name? Rebecca? Are they going to like flip the roles and where they're the fish out of water in America and just do the same thing like that? I mean, would I hate that? Yes and no. Yes, because it's not super original. It's like you're just kind of retreading just in reverse, where the other fish out of water, and Ted is like, oh, I know this like the back of my hand. I grew up playing this sport, coaching this sport. Potentially, I mean, it could be like that. But then I wouldn't really see how Ted Lasso would be the main character of that show, right? If they flip it like that, he would be like one of the side characters. And maybe like Roy Kent is like the main guy. And they would call the show Roy Kent instead of Ted Lasso. Now, that's a possibility. But I don't know. It seems like in these articles and these headlines that I've seen that it seems like they're just trying to make it a continuation to Ted Lasso to bring it back, which would be like one of the quickest like show endings and show revivals that I've ever seen in my life. Like, I mean, within a year, they're like, nope, we're reviving it. It's back. It's coming back. That would be historically quick. You know how TV shows like always have like revivals and like sequel series. I remember like Full House had Fuller House, and that 70s show had that 90s show. Roseanne was Roseanne again, and then it became The Conners. Like, I mean, there are so many shows that have revive seasons or series or spin-offs. One of the first ones I remember that I didn't really know, I had to ask my mom about this because I wasn't too sure, but the show Cheers, that show, which I haven't seen that much about, but I've seen a little bit. There's a sequel show called Frasier that's a sequel to Cheers. That's one of the first ones I've ever heard about that, a revival / sequel show, which I never really thought up until she told me. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. That's also like one of the first ones I've ever seen that, actually did that. And what I've heard heard a lot of people say this is probably going to be a hot take, but I've heard that Frasier is better than Cheers, which I'm not too sure. I haven't seen either really that much. I've seen a couple of Cheers, like I said, but none of Frasier. And then I've seen a lot of Full House, a ton of Full House. I didn't see any of Fuller House. My sister was a big fan of Full House and watched Fuller House. She said it was okay, not the greatest. And then my sister also watched that 70s show, loved it, and was watching that 90s show. She also said that one was just okay as well. You know, so not really the best track record of revivals / sequel shows to previous shows, except for what I've heard Frasier is better. And I've never seen Roseanne. I've never seen the new Roseanne or even the new Connor show ever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This might be a show whose revival is just a little too quick for me. Like maybe they decided, like they saw how popular it was, how much subscribers it brought to their platform, and how many people stuck around to watch Ted Lasso, you know, season after season, and that, you know, they needed something to bring, you know, that fans really liked, that made them unique. I mean, for a while, Ted Lasso was like you could say like one of the identifying shows for that platform. Like people knew Apple TV Plus because it had Ted Lasso. That was like one of their most like unique shows that they had when they launched, and like most identifiable shows that you could pinpoint to be like, oh, Ted Lasso, that's on Apple TV Plus. And now that it's gone, there isn't really much to identify Apple TV Plus with. If you really look at it, there isn't like a whole lot that really stands out. You know, Ted Lasso was like the one show that was able to really pop culture-wise. You know, just, you know, you could just tell like, oh, that's from Apple TV Plus. That's Ted Lasso. Let's watch that, or let's subscribe to that, you know? That's just what I think. And I'm not really, like I said, I'm not totally against it, but I am more on the negative side where, like, we've done that already. We've already done Ted Lasso. It's done and it's finished. It ended in a great way, I think. I don't know if they should be really, you know, continuing that story, if I'm being quite honest. That's also why I'm kind of scared of Beetlejuice. Like, Beetlejuice is like, for one, Beetlejuice is like a really funny movie. Like a really classic movie that you can rewatch every year, that is so good and quotable, iconic, and just a beloved movie that I don't know, honestly, if Beetlejuice, even though it's got, you know, what the hell's his name? Tim Burton back, directing this movie. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna. That movie worries me a lot, because there isn't really that much that we've seen to really kind of like get a vibe. I mean, not like we can get a vibe, but like not like a. There hasn't been that much shown where you can like gauge like, is this gonna be that good? You know, because it's almost like if it isn't good. If Beetlejuice isn't good, and it is like not good at all, and people really don't like it or care for it at all, then I feel like it becomes in the categorization as the Star Wars sequels, where they're so bad and you don't like them that you pretend that they don't exist. There is a category of media that is, and stories that are put out where they do such a dishonoring to the previous art that came out before that you neglect and pretend that they don't exist. I feel like that could happen with Beetlejuice because, one, there was nothing really to go back to. You didn't have to go back to it. You could have left it alone and just let Beetlejuice live in all of its glory and let Michael Keaton have that one performance way back when, where he absolutely killed that role. And same, you could say the same thing with Star Wars, right? When Harrison Ford was Han Solo, that was a killer role. That was a role of a generation that you always remember. And now he comes back in episode 7, is killed by his son, and then is seen as a Force vision, whatever, in episode 9, and you pretend like that never even existed because of how disservicing a story can be to something that you enjoyed that really did not need to be revisited, but they did because they could. And they were like, well, let's try it. I mean, it's been a while. Let's give it a go. I mean, I really do think that after The Force Awakens came out and how it was just a remake of A New Hope in the same universe, that all these studios that redo or continue a movie franchise, TV show franchise, whatever, they need to be much, much more aware of how smart audiences are and how we view things, and how now we could pretty much see, when you're not trying anything new and you're just trying to rehash things. And also, the internet exists where we can make, people can make videos and criticize and review it and call it out for what it is, that it'll last a lifetime. I mean, if you just go back in time and go back to when after episode 9 came out, and even before that, episode 8, and just see like all the negativity that I think is, ultimately, rationalized and realized and has merit and actually has, can stand on its own and has evidence to back it up of why something like this really did not need to happen, and that it was just, Star Wars was just fine with episodes 1 through 6. 7, 8, and 9 come around and you're like, these weren't necessary. These truly, truly weren't necessary. We need to stop thinking of everything as a business and think of it as an art. That way, we can always challenge ourselves to make actually newer things and not have to, hold on to the past and keep that and regurgitating of what that was, and ultimately holding us back creatively and even financially. I mean, people want newer things. As long as we can get people that are creative enough to produce those things and to really flourish and stop trying to harken back on things that were successful in the past and redoing them, even though because they had made money, back then. There's a lot of things that pay homage that are successful, that do it in a right way. Like I heard that Alien Romulus was really good, right? That was an homage to the first Alien movies. In fact, like all the Alien movies, but did it in a refreshing way where it's not like a ripoff. It's not like a regurgitation. It's something fresh and new, and people actually liked. Like, people liked it a lot. You can't say that about Star Wars because they just tried to remake the original trilogy again. I mean, they did. Kylo Ren becomes is a bad guy, and then becomes a good guy, just like Darth Vader. I mean, they try to differentiate. They try to have something new or do something different, but they ultimately decided, you know what, we're going to cop out and go the old faithful route and make him the new Darth Vader, literally. And then everybody's like, this is lame. This is weak. This has already been done. This is the opposite of creativity, And I just feel like, I think that, that has no place in art and should not be in art. That's why I'm kind of ultimately worried about Ted Lasso coming back. You know, should we really pick it up again? Does the story need it? Does Beetlejuice really need a sequel? Did it? Does it? I mean, I know you got like the, Winona Ryder's back, Michael Keaton's back. You got the emo queen herself, Jenna Ortega, in Beetlejuice. Like, do we really? I mean, it seems like, you're striking while the iron's hot. You just had Wednesday come out, and then you're going to have her play essentially the same character in Beetlejuice, an emo kid. Is that why? Because you saw the opportunity, you're like, oh, Tim Burton did Wednesday, and it's, emo as well. Oh, look at this. Beetlejuice was kind of emo and dark and goth. She could play, Winona Ryder's daughter. And it could be like a homage and like a regurgitation, and then we have Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, and yeah, it's going to be good. I don't know. I feel like, there's a headline that I saw from an article. I didn't read the article, but I saw the headline. I don't think they're going to lie about this, but if they do, shame on me, right? Nah, never mind. I won't say it. I don't want to get in trouble. I just feel like it's not going to be... It's probably not like a movie that needed another movie. I don't know. That's just what I think. Moving on, last topic before I get out of here. Star Wars Outlaws is an open world Star Wars game that I would like to play. That I actually, because what I've heard from people say, that this is an actual open world Star Wars game. Like actually open world where you can like go on multiple planets and really explore quests, characters, side quests, interactions, fights, chases, and go like really like have like an open world experience in the world and the galaxy of Star Wars. Sign me up. I want to play this. However, there's a lot of bad vibes, a lot of bad, press going on with this. Not only because like I've heard that the combat is not very impressive. It's kind of weak. It's a little basic. It doesn't really pop. It's not like unique. Which I think that, for me, that'll probably get tiresome throughout the game. But the biggest problem that I'm hearing about this game is that it is full, and I mean full, of bugs that should not be happening in a day one game. I mean, I've already seen some clips where I'm just like, there is no way that these guys are putting this game out and it looks this bad. Like legitimately could be like a broken game. And that is what is single-handedly making me not want to play this game day one. That is one thing where I'm just like, whoa. There is no way that I could possibly pay full price for this game and have it run just like this day one. Can't do it. Cannot do it. I will not do it. I can't see myself doing it. And let's be clear. I'm still playing Jedi Survivor currently, and I'm having a lot of fun with that game. Now, I also did not play that game when it first came out. I heard about some bug issues, I heard about some performance issues, but now, for me at least, it ain't too bad. It really isn't that bad. It's a very fun game. It's a very good game. I will say that Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a really, really good game. Like I'm fully invested in this game. And I just really, really don't think that I want to deal with the and I've never experienced any of these games launches, but I don't want to have to deal with like a Witcher 3 Wild Hunt or a Cyberpunk 2077 launch with this game. And if I'm being honest, after seeing all these, reviews and playthroughs, because people are already playing this game. You can already see people play this game. There's early access out there. You can see like missions and how it looks and all that. And I'm just going to listen to these people because they're actually playing it and voicing their opinion on it and saying what they think about it. And I'm just going to hold off on it. I know, like, I enjoy Star Wars enough to where I don't believe 7, 8, 9 exist. I don't believe in those movies. That to me, they're not real. And in fact, there's nothing that Star Wars is going to make in the future or currently that have anything to do with those movies at all. So why should I pretend that they're real, right? Jedi Survivor is like between the prequels and the original trilogy. Seems like I think this one takes place between episode 5 and 6. The shows that they put out have all been like, in original trilogy times, just after the fall of the Empire, not even touching the era of the sequel. So why should I pretend that they care about that era when they really don't? So, I mean, I'm looking at this and seeing what the vibe is around the community, the vibe around gamers. It's not looking that great. IGN gave it a 7, and it does look like it's a good, fun game, plagued with bugs at the start, at launch. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to go through that hell to play a game. There shouldn't be that many bugs at the launch of the game. Now, there probably is going to be like a day one patch that'll be like 300 gigabytes and it really just chew up your space on whatever you have, whether it be a PS5 or Xbox, or I don't even know if it's going to be on PC. I have no idea, right? But I'm just going to wait. I'll just wait. I mean, like, there really is no sense in me getting a game at potentially full price. I mean, I've already seen some discounted prices on other stores that have it for like $39. But I don't want to get a game at full price potentially with nothing but bugs and problems. I mean, that to me just seems like a waste of time. And will honestly make me feel like, that it would probably turn me off on the game. If I'm being completely honest. And you know what? This isn't good for business either, First impressions matter. If your first impression is that this game is incredibly unstable, incredibly unreliable, incredibly buggy and glitchy, then I don't think that you even should be making games. You shouldn't be making games because you are unable to deliver a product on time to the best of your ability. If it's this bad at your launch, I mean, then why not just delay it? So, I mean, it's not like Star Wars is in like a good place where we're constantly craving Star Wars content and Star Wars, stories, games, movies, whatever. It's dead, Let it come out in May the 4th, right? Maybe it'll have a better selling point there. Maybe it'll be more, not as buggy, a little bit better, right? But if it's coming out in the state that it is, buggy as hell, I don't know if it's the right move, for a company to do that. I think that they're gonna be just causing more bad than good, because if your game is not gonna have any good publicity, it's gonna have a terrible launch. I mean, who's actually gonna buy it? There's so many people out there that are voicing their opinion, saying like it's not in a good state, like it's not at a playable state, right? Not like Cyberpunk 2077 bad, but not good enough. Then why put it out there? Why lose money? Unless you're hoping that the patches and then the word of mouth will, get around and to be like, hey, you gotta check it out. It's actually really good. Like, it's actually works now. But, I mean, you would have to totally put that in the faith of your game being, great, good enough, and having good enough legs to actually, carry via word of mouth that it's actually a good game and that people should be willing to spend their money and their time to try out your game, and hopefully that it's good. Hoping, you should never hope, as a company, that people will like your game. That hope that they like it, they talk about it. I mean, I guess, you're in an industry where you kind of are hoping because you're in the field of art. A game is art, right? It's subjective. It's got personality. It's got, the people who made it the way that they did because there are certain types of people that find these games entertaining. Different games, right? These type of games, Souls games, first-person shooter games, Battle Royale, you're kind of hoping that people just kind of latch on and actually find the fun in it, and that buy it and stick around to play it and tell their friends to also get it because it's fun, right? You have to bank on fun. That's the whole point of this industry, is make the fun game that people want to buy. If your game isn't fun, nobody's going to buy it. So, I mean, you're essentially hoping and gambling on people's entertainment, what they find entertaining, and hopefully that what you've made, they find entertaining, that way they buy it. If not, then it's not going to work. It just is going to fall flat on its face. And that, I think, is in the position that you don't want to be, is hoping and praying that people find it fun. Because if you're just basing your success on that, then you're in for a load of trouble. All right, and that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.